Hey everyone, it's Cory McCarthy, and welcome to another live Q&A. 1 second, I'm going to get things set up so I can actually see the questions when they start coming in. Got to get to the screen and cut the volume. Otherwise, it's a little bit jarring is the word for it. Okay, got people beginning to roll in to the chat. So again, welcome guys to another Q&A. Just as a reminder, because there's people who might not listen in every week, or every other week, I mean, I do these every 2 weeks. So the next one is going to be on the Sunday of, fucking calendar's got to move, Sunday of the 12th, November 12th. So that'll be the next live Q&A, Sunday, November 12th. Approximately about 12 p.m. Eastern time. That's about when I kick off. Every other Sunday about 12 Eastern. So with that out of the way, let's roll into the questions. Okay. What do you think about the research on the keto diet and hypothyroidism? I would have to investigate that. I have not actually read anything about the ketogenic diet affecting the thyroid one way or the other. So I'd have to look into that. I wouldn't even be able to venture a guess about that, to be honest with you. I have a question. Do you think raw veganism is good for building muscle? I don't think raw veganism is good for anything. Let me put that down. Let me kind of just fix that a little better. Health. Right. Because there is sufficient evidence, and I'm talking about case by case by case of foods here, not like a single study, for instance, that show that some foods are healthier when cooked, some foods are healthier when eaten raw. So a mixed diet is actually the most optimal diet for getting all of your nutrients amply for health. That's my stance on that. So whether you can build muscle on a raw vegan diet, I mean, I'm not saying you can't. You'd probably have to eat a hell of a lot of seeds and shit. Yeah, I mean, you could probably do it. I mean, I haven't seen any examples, but again, I haven't gone looking for it. But it's not optimal for health. I really should do another video on raw veganism. I've actually done one before, and I've been planning to do another raw vegan video based on some absurdity that I've seen on Facebook. But it hasn't been a priority in the last few weeks, so that'll probably be to come. Let's see here. You often say you take a multivitamin and you're not concerned about the links between folic acid, vitamin E, and vitamin A to cancer. Joel Fuhrman and Dr. Greger all recommend avoiding such. I take a multivitamin for insurance. I know that some minerals, for instance, and vitamins perhaps too, but minerals at the very least, like calcium, if you overdo supplemental calcium, it can lead to heart problems. That's been studied. There's also research to show that supplemental vitamin C can impair protein synthesis. So if you finished a workout session and you supplement vitamin C in the meal following your workout session, or a multivitamin after your workout session, you could indeed blunt some of the muscle growth you might receive from the session. That has been shown in research as well. So my advice is for at least things like that, I take a multivitamin, but I don't overdo the C. There's some guys that load up on vitamin C that, isn't beneficial necessarily. Now, there are times where that could be. There was a study that showed if you feel like a cold or a flu is coming on, taking 6,000 milligrams of vitamin C in the days when you begin to feel like there might be something coming, like you get that feeling sometimes, it can help lessen the effects of the cold, possibly even prevent it fully onsetting or even really kicking off. You might get the initial feeling, but it might go away. But beyond things like that, like I really wouldn't supplement certain things. But I'd have to look into see what Dr. Greger and Joel and Fuhrman say, and what research they provide to really, give that any more thought. Let me see here. What's next? Hey, Cory, on your channel, do you have any videos on set workout plans, templates to use? I do have some workout videos, like you'll find chest and biceps videos, tips for chest and legs. You'll find videos, tons of videos on arms, because I get a lot of questions about arms. there are a lot of workout videos. I think if you just search workout or training under my channel's video content, you'll pull a number of them up. Or if you just type in the body part you're interested in, there's a delt video as well, a traps video also. They do exist, but as for plans, I actually sell an ebook. It's called The Beast Mode by Science. You'll find it linked below in the description. And that ebook is a workout plan. It's actually got a muscle building plan and a fat loss plan. So it's got 2 programs that are, weeks and weeks long. They're not like just, one workout. You got multiple, many workouts actually. So I do offer that. Let's see. Do you know what your lipids are? Could you let us know if you do? I don't at the moment. I actually should get my blood checked again. But I would imagine they're all right. Now, look, they were really bad when I was eating eggs. Back when I was a vegetarian in 2013, before I went vegan, I had gotten some blood work done. It was around like March or February or something like that of 13. And man, my blood cholesterol was horrible. My LDL was really fucking high. It was just not a good thing. My doctor actually said had I been in my 40s, he would prescribe statins. But it was not a good situation. I went vegan not long after that for numerous reasons. It wasn't just related to the blood work. And when I looked at my blood scores again just months later, because he wanted to do a follow-up, they had like completely improved. And my doctor asked what I did, and I said I went vegan. He's like, well, I don't really fully know what that is. He said, but keep doing it because it's working. So a lot of doctors don't understand nutrition. Just to give you a little side note on that. Many of you probably know that by now. Let's see here. What do you think of a raw primate diet, including insects? Would it be nutritionally complete? Look, I mean, I'm not going to advocate eating insects because that's not technically vegan. And we don't really know enough about insects yet, and when it comes to their consciousness level and all of that. So it's best just to let that go. The same thing with, I was the same thing about like mussels and other, clams and things like that. It's the same thing. Like we know that clams don't have a CNS, but they have a rudimentary ganglia that allows them to sense and pain. So I would just avoid that. I don't see any point in these fad diets, to be perfectly honest with you. Just eat a well-balanced vegan diet, and you can be healthy. You can build muscle on that. You can be an athlete on that. You can just be a healthy, normal person on that. Whatever you choose. Just make sure it's balanced and you're getting everything you need. Okay. Let's see here. I will have to check out Bobby Raw Vegan Perspective if he's a raw vegan bodybuilder to give that a go. I just haven't looked into it a lot because what I know about raw foods and cooked foods, I don't have any interest in doing a raw diet, so I never really looked into raw vegan bodybuilding. So I saw some studies on cell phone radiation and sperm quality. Have you seen them? I've not really looked deeply into it, but I have heard, or read rather is a better way to put it, articles saying that there is research to show that having like your mobile phone or your computer, your laptop or something too close to that region of your body can indeed cause problems with fertility, sperm quality, motility, etc. In men and women, but in men, the sperm situation, obviously. So I wouldn't recommend carrying your fucking cell phone around near if you're a guy, near your junk. Like, don't put it in your pocket and crap. Put it in a bag or something if you carry a backpack with you or something along those lines, or just freaking carry it. Or I guess if you have to, your back pocket. But I would explore the research more to see how much proximity is necessary for that sort of thing. I don't even carry my cell phone around on me, to be honest with you. So I don't really, it hasn't really been too much of a concern for me. Let's see. Also, do we need to soak lentils and beans to get rid of anti-nutrients so they are concerned? No, not really. I mean, if you're eating enough protein, you don't have to worry too much about the anti-nutrients. You can. I mean, you can get sprouted tofu, fermented tofu, or even in the case of tempeh, which is fermented soy, you can get sprouted beans, nuts, seeds, etc. And that's all fine. I mean, it's not unhealthy for you. But I really wouldn't worry too much about the anti-nutrient thing. if you're eating enough protein and you're eating enough food. From what I understand of the research, it's not such a significant effect that you have to worry too much about it. Now, there are some foods like broccoli and others that are just better cooked, for instance, because of some of the anti-nutrients they contain. I think mushrooms are an example of this as well. But I wouldn't worry about them to soak them if you want. I know I've heard soaking beans can prevent you from getting flatulence. That's what I've heard, or getting the bubbles out or something. But that's just something I've heard hearsay. I don't know if there's any research to support that. Let's see here. Let's see here. There's a lot of questions. I recently read that mixing fats with carbohydrates creates insulin resistance. What is your opinion on this? There is definitely some research to show that the combination. Now you have to be very clear here. Are we talking about like having a fatty meal? Like, for instance, maybe you've cooked some sautéed tofu and have fruit on the side. Now that distinction has to be made here. That I wouldn't see how that would cause diabetes or an insulin, resistance situation, which can lead to diabetes. Now, if you're eating cake, your processed white sugars loaded with fats, or whatever, that's a different scenario than the effect that fruit would have, or with a sautéed meal, for instance. So you have to keep that in mind. But yes, there is definitely something to that. But you have to look at it in context, okay? Do you consider animal testing ethical? Many parts of the China study were done on rats. Do you support this testing? No, I do not support animal testing. Unfortunately, I have no control over it either. And the science world doesn't see it as immoral to test on animals and even do some heinous things to animals in the name of science. And whereas they cannot get away with these sort of things on human beings. So no, I do not agree with animal testing. And personally, and a lot of people will probably give me flack for this. There are a lot of people who are liberal who give me a little flack for this. But I say we have a pretty goddamn big prison population if we wanted to do human trials. Just take them, make them do something, for fuck's sakes, because they're living off our tax dollars. But I'm not going to turn to a political conversation here, but we do have test subjects if we wanted to. They put themselves in that situation. So moving forward, I'm having trouble getting enough calcium on a vegan diet. I don't want to supplement because I heard calcium supplement is bad for the heart. Too much calcium supplementation is bad for the heart. That is true. But I don't know how you're not getting enough calcium. Are you eating things like beans or like soy, for instance, or just beans in general, broccoli? These foods all contain shitloads of calcium. If you go on Google and type in vegan foods containing calcium, you can find out the optimal list of vegan foods, like what vegan foods contain an optimal amount of calcium, and you can just base your serving size on that. I don't see how you can't get it from Whole Foods, why you would need a supplement for it. But let's move along here. This isn't a health-related topic, but what are your thoughts on semen retention and abstinence on porn? Semen retention, look, you're going to emit semen anyway. I mean, people who don't masturbate, who don't have sex, there's night emissions. Your body will emit semen, if a healthy body will, at least, because it can. There are studies that show that refraining from orgasm for a guy, for not blowing your load, basically, puts you at higher risk for prostate cancer. That's just that there is research to show. So having an orgasm, ejaculating, is healthy. Now you can overdo that too and put yourself at risk for prostate problems also by overdoing that sort of situation. But not doing it is, there's extremes on either end. So that's my thoughts on that. As for porn, there is a growing body of data, a lot of it's observational, that porn does have a negative effect on our brains. And now I could go into the details about this, but I'm going to keep it quick because this is a Q&A. But it does have a negative impact on our brains, and it can affect our ability to enjoy sex or even have sex, like function properly during sex with a real life partner. So there is research to show this, and it leads to a myriad of other social problems as well. So yeah, porn is not a good thing. So I do advise abstaining from pornography, but I do not see any purpose in abstaining from orgasm, sex, and that sort of thing. And that includes masturbating if you want. Just, don't go extreme. Are the chemicals in the water turning the frogs gay? Well, that's what Alex Jones says, but I don't. I'd have to look into that. I really don't know. I'll tell you this much though. There are a lot of chemicals in the foods and plastics in the air, in all seriousness, and other things around us, pollution even, I guess would count as air and even water, that is affecting male fertility. So I don't see why it wouldn't affect animals as well. Now, turning them gay, I don't know. I don't think low test guys necessarily are gay. That doesn't necessarily cause people to be homosexual. Having low testosterone. Sorry, I have a dry throat. So I don't know about that aspect, but yeah, there are hormone disrupting elements, compounds all around us. And you got to be wary of that, and weary of that's a better word, and take precautions. Stay away from chemical-laden products. Try to get quality exercise. Eat a lot of broccoli because it's got hormone-modulating properties like DIM and in it. That's some advice I can give you right there. Don't use Tide laundry detergent, for instance. Maybe use 7th generation. That's an example of what I mean by taking precautions. Any recommendations for natural pain relief? Well, I mean, you could use, I use hot showers, cold showers, contrast showers, basically, heating pads. I also use a TENS unit. I find that helps a lot for joint pain, or twinges or whatever I have in my muscle, a TENS unit. You can get one for like between 50 and 60 bucks. A basic TENS unit. In fact, my physical therapist used a TENS unit on me when I had a wrist injury. That was part of the healing program that he had me on, was a TENS unit, about 15 minutes twice a week with a heating pad. You can also take white willow bark, which contains the active in white willow bark, the compound that naturally occurs in it, is the same compound they use as they put in aspirin. Only it's less concentrated, obviously. So white willow bark is like a mild aspirin effect when you take it. That can help you with pain. A massage. These are things you can do as well. Those are some examples of what you can do for pain. Give those a go. Okay. Would you recommend your program for females? Yes. It will work for men or for women. It's totally acceptable for both. I mean, now you're not going to get the same results as a guy naturally, but you will grow muscle. You will get stronger for your gender, for your hormone production. Because there are some women who have a lot of testosterone naturally. They're a lot more testosterone, and they do grow muscle faster than other women and can be stronger than other women. I mean, I see it at my gym, for instance. There's a couple girls that regularly train at my gym with one of the personal trainers there, and one of them is just a monster on deadlifts. I mean, she is a monster on deadlifts. Her deadlift is almost as high as mine. And that's, she's pretty fucking strong for a girl. Whereas the other girl has a pretty basic deadlift. I mean, it would be really bad for a guy, but for a girl, it's all right. But this other girl's a monster, like a total Amazonian. So even amongst the female gender, it can differ. But yeah, the program worked for anyone. You need to make a video telling the alt-right that soy isn't bad for you. I've made videos to, not just to the alt-right, but to conservatives in general, because I do tend to push the conservatives a lot, being conservative, to try to show them that you can be a conservative vegan. And I've done my video to Paul Joseph Watson. I've done videos to Faith Goley, which was about soy. I did a video to Donald Trump to go vegan. It was kind of satirical, though, because there's no chance in hell he was going to go vegan. But I did do a video to Donald Trump to go vegan back when he was campaigning. I've done videos to that spectrum of political spectrum before. You know, I've called out Varg, I've called out the Golden One, but you know, some people are just kind of set in their ways on both sides of the political spectrum. They're set in their ways, you know. So, you know, I'm not going to blast them. I'm just going to try to live by example and put the information out there, and hopefully, and it's not even hopefully, some do come around. I've converted a number of Golden One's followers to veganism. I just wish the Golden One would go, but you know, as the old saying is, wish in one hand, shit in the other, and see which one fills up first. Are there natural ways to lower high levels of estrogen in a man? Okay, yeah, there are natural ways you can do this. It depends on why you have high estrogen. Now, if your high estrogen is because you have a lot of stress hormone, like you have high cortisol levels, you might give ashwagandha a go. Ashwagandha doesn't necessarily boost testosterone, nor does it necessarily lower estrogen. It's more of an equalizer. So what it does is it helps balance the hormones in your body by reducing stress hormone cortisol. So if you are low in T, it can help you raise your T if, of course, it's an effect of having too high cortisol. Or if you have high estrogen, it can help lower that, balance it out if it's an effect of having too much cortisol. So you might give that a go. But it really comes down to what is causing your high estrogen in the first place. Now, there is a supplement. It's not banned by WADA because it's a natural supplement. Technically, it is. It's a metabolite of 7-keto DHEA. And DHEA is a body. It's a metabolite of 7-keto DHEA. It's called, well, its marketed term is arimistane. And it has been shown to have a mild, now, you know, it's mild because it's over the counter. It's not going to give you the same effect as a steroid or some kind of an anti-aromatase drug. To have a mild effect on lowering estrogen. And, you know, so there's that. Now, a lot of the products contain gelatin capsules, or you get it in powder form, and I don't know how shit's gonna taste, to be honest with you. I've never tried it. But there are some companies, I'm sure, that sell it in veggie caps. You'd have to look, or in tablets or something, so you can find a vegan dosing of 7-keto DHEA. But that's something you can look into as well. But like I said, it's mild. If you truly have a massive estrogen problem, you should be seeing an endocrinologist, not looking for herbal remedies. That's just my thoughts on that. And I'm not a doctor. I've got to put that out there over and over again. Does sugar cause diabetes? Not necessarily. And if you lift weights, I wouldn't worry too much about consuming. I wouldn't go overboard, but having some candy now and then, or a bit more sugar in your diet now and then is not. If you lift weights, it's not going to be such a problem, because weightlifting does improve your insulin sensitivity quite a lot. Let's see here. When is the microwave video scheduled for? I've got to do that video, buddy. I know you or somebody else have been asking me to do a microwave video. It's definitely a topic, but I've got to research it, you know. I do actually have a microwave. It's right beside me here. I don't really use it all too often. Mostly I use my microwave as a kitchen timer now. Occasionally I might pop some popcorn in it or something, but or soften some ice, you know, some vegan ice cream. Like sometimes the vegan ice cream comes this fucking hard as a rock, and I've got to put it in there for 30 seconds so I can scoop it out a little easier. But beyond that, I don't really use my microwave too much. Are steroids vegan? Yeah, I mean, technically, a lot of them are vegan because they're synthetic. They're produced in a laboratory. Here's a little tidbit of information. A lot of times, steroids are actually created. They're synthesized from soy. Get that? Or yams. Get that? So people are like, oh, you know, soy causes. It's like, did you know that a lot of these steroids people inject are actually synthesized from soy? So yeah, technically they are vegan. Technically, in fact, I don't think I know of any steroids that are extracted from a human or an animal or anything like that. Like I've never heard of that being. I'm not saying it isn't done. I don't know a lot about steroids, but I never heard of that. A lot of them are synthetic. So in that case, they're technically vegan. Yeah. Let's see here. Hey, Cory, I work a 40-hour job. I currently do 10-hour night shifts and roughly get 2 days off. I'm wondering how I can buy time while I'm at work. Any advice? So basically, well, what do you do on your night? Maybe you're a security guard or something. Are you asking me for things to do while you're working? Well, I mean, if you have a job to do your job first and foremost. But if it's a job where a lot of it's waiting around for something to happen, read a book, you know, listen to some music or something. If you're alone and not going to disturb anyone, learn a musical instrument. Maybe pick up a guitar. You know, use that time to better yourself. Study, learn. You know, maybe do a remote course, college course. Learn a trade, improve your life. Maybe even invest. You know, there's a lot of things you can invest in out there. I've been recently looking at cryptocurrency. Invest in something, maybe invest in some cryptocurrency, study a little bit about that sort of thing. Use any time you have to better yourself some way, mentally, even just mentally read, study. That's my advice, you know. Or, I mean, if you really just want to blow time, I guess you could like watch a movie on your laptop or play a video game or something. But I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't ever do something like that, but that, you know, doing it all the time is a waste of your time, really. Thoughts on Brad Pylon's or Pelon's, I pronounced that, how much protein? I've not seen it, but I make it very clear how much protein I recommend. For vegans, I recommend upwards to 1 gram per pound of body weight, lean body weight being most accurate per day. That's what I recommend. Creatine is a cognitive enhancer, true or false? Are there any proven ones available? Yes, it's true. But there's a caveat. It's true for vegans and vegetarians. Doesn't have the same effect on meat eaters. Likely because they're already getting a lot of creatine from red meat, for instance. But it has been shown to have a cognitive effect on vegans and vegetarians. So this is why I do recommend a modest dose creatine monohydrate. That's where you have all the research from, is on monohydrate. Creapure is pretty good. It's a vegan product. In fact, I think all creatines are vegan that I've ever come across. But yeah, I mean that is a way to help, you know, as a vegan, maybe perhaps give you a little bit of spike in cognitive ability. And fuck knows, a lot of vegans need that. I mean, do you know how much insanity I come across in the vegan community? It's mind-boggling. So yeah, I mean, there is truth to that. What happens if you don't consume enough protein? Well, that depends. If you're a lifter and you don't consume enough for a lifter, you won't grow muscle, or if you have muscle, you'll lose muscle at some rate, depending on your body's natural propensity for losing or maintaining muscle. Some people maintain it easier than others. But yeah, that can happen. Now, if you're just your average person, you're not eating enough protein, you'll find you'll have problems with hair. You'll have problems with your cells down to the cellular level. It can hurt you. It can kill you. You know, it's not good for your health. There are minimums for protein for a person who's just a lifter. I mean, not a lifter, sorry, just a normal person looking for good health. And they're not all that high. You know, you don't need a hell of a lot of protein. Now, for a bodybuilder, you do have higher requirements. I hate how makeup companies torture cats. Well, there are makeup companies that do not test on animals. You know, buy from them. Do not support the big Revlons or whatever other brands, Maybellines and everything else. Buy from the companies that do not test on animals. Like, for instance, rubbing lipstick all over the eyes and mouth of rabbits or what have you, and testing the acidity of products on rabbits and burning holes in their skin. It's freaking disgusting. Let's see. Hugh Cassidy used to say that, I don't know who Hugh Cassidy is, but used to say that you have to eat your way through sticking points. Is he right? Well, let's be honest here. I mean, if you are trying to build muscle and you're not eating enough, that is going to cause a sticking point. I mean, you're not going to grow. So yeah, if you're trying to build mass and get stronger, you have to eat. Now, that's within reason. If you overeat, you're going to get fat. But you have to be able to eat to build muscle, to build strength, and even when you're in a caloric deficit, you still have to eat the right foods and enough of the right macronutrients and still enough calories, but in a deficit, to lose fat while maintaining muscle. Please tell me the best face moisturizer. Well, I use a number of them. I use Alba Organics, CMOS, SPF 15 sunscreen / moisturizer for when I'm going to go out somewhere. Before I go to bed, I use a Jason's the brand, vitamin E moisturizer. It's a little thick and a little greasy, but it absorbs pretty quickly. About half hour or so it absorbs in. I use that. I also have an Avalon Organics vitamin C moisturizer that I kind of swap back and forth with the Jason, just to keep things interesting, so my body isn't always using the same product. And I use that sometimes too. But yeah, those are some examples of good moisturizers that I've been using for a while and I like. And they're pretty cheap and they're recommended by PETA. That's how I found out about them. PETA recommended them. I gave them a try. I liked how they worked, and that was that. How does a ketogenic vegan diet compare to a high-carb normal vegan diet? Look, keto diets are not magic. They're also not optimal for health. Let's just be real here. They're a tool in the tool shed for a particular end. In this case, diet adherence is really something that keto diets are good for. People feel more satiated. They perceive satiety on a keto diet better, so they are able to stick to their calorie deficits and lose weight that way a lot quicker and a lot easier. Now that because if they can't stick to their diet, it's going to take a lot longer, obviously. But that being said, vegan diets, keto diets are not complete. And it's especially hard to get a lot of the vitamins and minerals you need. So you're going to have to supplement out the ass to make them work. End up deficient. Some people just feel like shit on them. And you'll get it's harder to get a pump on a keto diet. Really, I use them now and then. I don't do them a lot. And I include a refeed once a week. Once I've keto adapted, like every 7 days, I have a refeed where I carb up. But I don't use them all too often. And the only medical purpose they're really used for that I've actually seen researched quite heavily is epilepsy. They improve the quality of life of epileptics. For whatever reason, I'm not a doctor. I don't fully understand the mechanisms behind it because I haven't looked too deeply into it, but there's a body of research to show that keto diets do improve the quality of life of epileptics. So. Can you bulk as a vegan on low carb? You can, but you're going to be eating a hell of a lot of fat, and you've got to be careful of that too, because there is research to show that, for instance, coconut oil, the high saturated fat content can still raise cholesterol. So people who think vegans can't get cholesterol or heart problems, well, it's possible, depending on the food you're eating, or in this case, the oil you're intaking. So you got to be mindful of that, and of course, to build muscle, you've got to eat more calories. In a keto diet, that means more fat calories, and that could mean potentially more oils or foods with saturated fat in them, which could potentially lead to heart problems. So just keep that in mind. Keto diets are not optimal for building muscle. People use them to adhere to their diet to lose weight, or medically speaking, for epilepsy. Should we avoid all forms of saturated fat for heart health, coconut oil and palm oil? Well, actually, I just kind of answered that. So you don't have to avoid necessarily, but limit your saturated fat intake. I think that the recommended the maximum is like 7 grams a day of saturated fat. That's like the top end. Maybe for some folks, if they're a little bigger, maybe 10, 12 grams a day. But I really wouldn't even recommend you go to that. You can get all the hormones production, all the base hormone needs from just fat intake. So you don't even need to eat saturated fat. Yeah, is cooking oil good for us? These are all the same kind of questions. It's not inherently good or inherently bad, but just don't overdo it. A little now and then is not going to hurt you, at least from the research I've seen. But I am not a doctor. I've got to stress that. Any tips for doing a lean bulk, macro split, calorie surplus amount, duration, etc.? Yeah, a lean bulk. Don't raise your calories much more than about 10% to 20% over maintenance. and I go over all of this. I actually give you the precise figures for recomping and lean bulking in my ebook, Beast Mode by Science, link down below. As for macros, I go into that as well. It depends on what your goals ultimately are going to be, your weight and everything as well. Duration, I mean, it's really up to you. I mean, if you're doing it lean, you know, you could ride it out for a while. Now you're not going to be perfectly. You're going to put some fat on, naturally speaking, and it just happens. But if you could do it a little longer term, if you keep things pretty tight, you know, and you're not overeating, so you could maintain that bulk for a little longer, like a good year even, or even just half a year if that's all you want, until you're satisfied with the amount of gains you put on and you want to cut down to reveal for summer or whatever. Maybe you have a photo shoot, or you're a competitive bodybuilder or something. How do you heal a sprained ankle fast? I hear icing is bad for healing. Now, I've seen that, you know, icing and heating back and forth, the contrast thing works. Again, a TENS unit can work, massaging the area, taking a break from using your ankle. Like maybe if you have to walk, use like a crutch or something. Just try to rest it as much as you possibly can. I certainly wouldn't squat. I certainly wouldn't do calf raises. I would go easy on that ankle for at least a week or two. A sprain should, unless depending on the severity, it should clear up pretty quickly, unless you've actually done more damage than just sprain it. I mean, I've gotten sprains plenty of times, but usually they clear up in a few days to a week. So I might take a week off, for instance, leg training, to let that recover, and then go back in at the end of the next week for my first leg day back, and then maybe start doing it higher frequency after that. Kind of ease back into it. How important is flexibility? What is your stretching routine? Flexibility is important as you want it to be. I mean, are you an athlete? Are you a martial artist? It depends on what you need the flexibility for. I mean, I think if you can't bend over and touch your toes, you have a flexibility issue. Now, as for how I train flexibility, I find, you know, this is just anecdote. I don't know if there's any research support this, but I've found this, and so have some other friends who are martial artists, that lifting weights through a full range of motion, not cheating the ROM, you know, shortening it, whatever, actually improves functional flexibility. So, you know, for instance, doing squats to depth and back up again, you know, doing that over time, not half squatting, quarter squatting. My kicks are stronger. They're better, they're stronger, and they're faster despite being bigger than they have been before. And I have a video demonstrating some of my kicking technique. You can look it up. You type in Cory McCarthy martial arts, it'll come up. And somebody even commented that, you know, a guy your size, you have a pretty fast kicking speed and pretty good precision. It's because the way I train. That's one thing. Two, warm up thoroughly, but warm up dynamically before your workout. In other words, take a walk. Like, for instance, when I'm going to train, I walk. I walk to my gym. You know, I come off the subway or whatever, and I walk to the gym. So I'm getting that blood flow going. I'm loosening up a bit. I warm up through the movement, so I don't just jump into the heavy-ass set, my working set. I do a few warm-up sets first where it's like a quarter or half the weight, or even just the bar. And I get the movement going. I get into the groove, and then I go to the heavy weight. Another thing is then of course static stretching when you're done lifting that's when you can do static stretching. Now there's been research to show, and I actually prescribe this in my Beast Mode by Science book. Static stretching between sets of your opposing muscle. For instance, let's say you're training biceps. If you stretch your triceps in between the sets of your biceps work, you actually can get a rep or two more in the following sets of your biceps, and that would go for chest. You stretch your back, or back you stretch your chest, etc. I don't really know how that would work for delts, but you know, there you go. Would you grow your own food like an allotment? I mean, if I had the capacity to do so, I certainly would. To be honest, I want to get the hell out of New York City. You know, I'm just getting sick of this place, sick of the taxes, sick of the cost of living, sick of the crowds. And if I had some land, I would certainly grow some of my own food. Certainly, you know, probably not all of it, but certainly some of it. Bear in mind that you have to have a good amount of, you know, of space to grow different kinds of a variety of things, obviously. And you know, you're going to be you have to deal with the climate of the region you're living in. And I prefer colder climates personally. Is working out once a week sufficient? No, it's not. It is simply not. 3 times a week minimum. That's what I say. And that's based on the research, because frequency and volume are both important to building muscle. So once a week is just going to do a little bit of nothing, really. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to do absolutely fuck all, but it's not going to do a whole hell of a lot either. You'll get better results. That's a better way to put it. Training more often. Any advice for approaching women? Okay. I'm not a Casanova. I'm just going to put that out there, but I will tell you what I have learned from research, what I've learned from from experience, and from experience from observing as well. Confidence. You have to, I don't mean go out there and think you're God's gift to women or the world, but you have to have belief in yourself. You have to feel that you have value and you have something to offer. And that will help give you, you know, that perk in your step and keep your head up. Lifting weights is a good thing to do, because when you lift weights, your body changes, you feel better, your hormones are better, they're more balanced and optimized, and you just get more confidence, and that is attractive to women. So confidence is a big one. Having a personality, a good personality, making a girl laugh, those are all things you can do. Now, there are other things status help too. And there also can be confidence builders too. Rich guys, even really ugly rich guys, and they use that as leverage for getting women. But yeah, confidence. If you're just your average dude who's not necessarily rich, but you're not necessarily poor either, and you can afford to have a girlfriend, afford to invest in a relationship, you know, and you don't have to be necessarily rich for that. You just, you know, have to be able to be working and have and be stable. Confidence really is the biggest thing, I think. You know, taking presentability, be clean. You know, don't have BO, don't dress trashily, I guess. You know, look like somebody who, you know, is presentable, you know, that would attract other people. It's really a lot simpler than people want to make it, to be honest. Somebody says, Jack says, I really respect your demeanor and your essence. You are always consistent and calm and rational and never noticeably irritated. I do get irritated. Don't give me too much credit. I get mad a lot. I just, you know, when I'm presenting to you guys, I try to tone it down. Like, there's things that are said that are just so stupid that really do piss me off. Like, they're so, like, some of the things Vargas said, for instance, are just so dumb that I almost can't believe. It almost shuts me down that someone could be that stupid, you know, with the things they're saying, despite the evidence. You know, it's frustrating and infuriating. But when you're trying to deliver a message, being angry is not going to make you coherent, and it's not going to make people want to listen to you. So you have to find that center and proceed despite people being infuriated. So don't give me too much credit. I'm only human, and I do have a lot of flaws, and I do get angry. So don't give me too much credit for that. You know, but we're all human. We all have flaws. Cory, what is your stance on politics? I think it's pretty clear where I stand politically. Most people know this by now. It's kind of out of the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. I'm right wing. I'm very right wing, which is a sort of a dangerous thing to be in the vegan world, I guess, because a lot of vegans are liberals and they absolutely despise right wingers. And I don't despise all liberals. I have liberal friends. I just despise the extremists, okay? And the people who won't listen to reason. And that's what I despise. I despise the crazies, like your intersectional vegans, for instance. I really don't like that at all. And I've explained why before. And Isaac and I are planning to are planning to do a video about intersectionals, just that we have so much going on in our individual lives that we haven't gotten around to it. I mean, he only just now did the Ration Alligator video, which took, he's been talking about for months and months and months and months and months, probably even up to a good year. So yeah, I mean, just very busy. But I'm right wing. I took a political compass test for Isaac, actually, for one of his videos he did, where he was responding to that bald Shrek, Abasiel or Isel, whatever you want to call him. I call him the White Shrek. He did a video response to him, and he had me take a political compass test for that. I came 30% right wing, 10% authoritarian. So authoritarian, but I'm mildly authoritarian. I'm not a libertarian, but I'm more on the authoritarian side. So that's where I stand politically. You know, is what it is. I'm very conservative in that respect. And I'm a little bit more liberal in other respects. Like, I am vegan, so some people consider that to be a liberal thing, but it's not really a political movement. So, but whatever. What's a quick and easy high-protein vegan food to suggest to someone without access to a kitchen? I have a microwave, but I'm renting a room. Beans are good. They're very high in protein. Black beans and pinto beans are especially high in protein. Soybeans are incredibly high in protein. I guess, I don't know, quinoa is like, you got to get prepared quinoa, I suppose. Lentils, you can get all this stuff canned as well. Lentils are really high in protein. You know, you don't have to cook tofu. It's a little weird not cooking it, but you don't have to cook tofu. You can eat tempeh without cooking it either. It's fermented and everything. I mean, it's not exactly palatable, but you can do it. They're very high in protein. I've never worked out a day in my life, and I am fit with 60-inch arms and also very ripped legs. Does it mean I will be bigger than someone who started smaller? If you have 16-inch arms and you have never worked out in a day in your life, that's incredible. You should lift weights just to see what the hell will happen when you do. You clearly possess some quality genetics. Clearly. I mean, I wish I had that base when I started lifting. You might have the ability to get to 18-inch arms naturally. Or you might find that you don't have much room to grow when you lift. But give it a go. I mean, because that could be some prize-winning genetics there. You could lift and find that you might be able to do modeling. You might be able to compete. Not there's much money in that. Modeling, perhaps, if you get, you know, a big enough name for yourself. But bodybuilding is such, you have to have more passion for it than you know, that it's not. You have to understand it's not really a career. Very few people can make a career out of bodybuilding. It's, you know, sponsorships can only get you so much, and some they only give you free products at most. They don't even really pay you. But yeah, I mean, give it a go, because you might have some fantastic gains if you lift, especially with that base. If you're not fucking with me and you're serious, give it a go. What would your tips to avoid spinal injury specifically? I mean, what are we talking about here? Lifting? I would say that use proper form for one. You know, make sure your core is stabilized, that you don't rely. I've seen people who rely on weight belts, the stability belts, when they do squats. I have an anecdote for this, actually. There's a guy at my gym who for the longest time would squat with those stability belts on. And then one time he went in to squat and he forgot his belt. And he loaded up the bar with the same weight that he would use with the belt. And he ended up blowing a disc or something happened, and he had to get surgery. It was no good. Like, he fucked up and fell. He actually fell. The weight was so much he couldn't get out of the hole in the squat, and he collapsed. And he sustained an injury, and he's not been the same since. His leg training hasn't been the same since, and it's been a year. So yeah, I mean, use proper form. Don't rely on a lot of crutches unless you have an injury you've got to work through. Like, I don't use those stability belts unless I have a serious injury or some kind of injury, a twitch or twinge or whatever you want to call it. I don't touch them. I try to lift raw. you know, even if that means I can't lift as much as I would with some kind of an assistance device. And use proper form, use proper range of motion, and most importantly, if something doesn't feel right, stop doing it. Seriously, there's people out there, it's like they'll train, they think it's hardcore to train through a bad kind of pain. That's not hardcore, that's stupid. It's going to put that out there. If something doesn't feel right, abort that exercise or that workout until either you can figure out how to do it properly or maybe it's just not right for you. Abort. So take care of yourselves. Otherwise, you'll have a very short lifting life. Thoughts on Brandon Carter's keto diet? I mean, I've given you my thoughts on keto diets in general, but I don't think eating a bunch of bacon, steak, and eggs is good for you. I mean, it's not good for you. It's not a matter of thinking. All that cholesterol is not good for you. Brandon Carter is setting himself up for poor aging, bad heart health, and you know, at the very least, there's possibly cancer. So no, I don't think it's a good thing at all. But you know, Brandon Carter will do what Brandon Carter wants to do, and if his followers are not going to educate themselves and they're just going to copy him blindly because they think they want to look like big Brandon Carter, then it's the blind leading the blind, really. You know, and I just don't, my viewers aren't going to do that. So that I'm going to say that much. And I have a tiny channel, but the viewers I have are not going to pull that kind of shit. So at least I'm not spreading that kind of crap. Let's put that out there. What are your favorite machine exercises? I don't often use machines a lot, but I mean, cables I do, like push downs, a variety of push downs. You know, V-bar, rope, underhand. I do pull downs behind the neck sometimes. I got to be careful with that because it can be, it's not exactly the best way to do a pull down, but sometimes I'll do them every now and then. I just won't go too far down because I feel a pinch in the wrong place sometimes if I go too far. So I'll go modestly behind my head. Just enough to feel my lats fire. Underhand pull downs I'll do, rows sometimes. I like to do seated cable rows with a rope. If you've ever done this before, give this a try. Take a rope attachment, and when you do the seated cable roll, you can pull the rope back further, and it activates more of the lower and middle traps. It's actually it's better. It's far superior to the other seated cable row exercises, like with a bar or a V handle or whatever. Sometimes I'll use hammer strength machines, like I'll do hammer strength bench presses, overhead presses, rows. I don't do a lot of that because I like to leave those to compound movements. I like to do barbell rows and overhead presses standing with a barbell and a bench with a barbell. I do standing calf raise machine work, and I do donkey calf raise machine work. But yeah, I mean, that's about really it. I'm not a big lying leg curls. I'm not a big machine user, to be honest. I do a lot of free weight stuff mostly. What products do you use as far as body wash, shampoo, conditioner, deodorant? Because I know the aluminum stops toxins from leaving the body. I use products I find at Whole Foods Market. I have an Urban Cowboy underarm deodorant that I use a lot. Urban Cowboy also makes a really nice cologne for men, a few different scents actually. I use Giovanni brand shampoo and conditioner. They're not tested on animals. They're vegan. You can find them in Whole Foods. I mean, I've used some other ones too, but those are the ones I've used. I mostly use soap, not body wash, but I have been using some charcoal body wash lately. I've been really into charcoal soaps and charcoal body wash because it can extract the shit from your skin and from your body. I mean, it is a detoxifier. I mean, for instance, when you swallow a poison or something, at the hospital they will give you charcoal. So keep that in mind. Charcoal does detoxify. It does absorb the nasty shit, and you expel it either by vomiting or crapping or whatever. Usually by vomiting, in the case of the hospitals. But yeah, that's really what I use for those. Dumbbells in my gym don't go heavy enough for dumbbell rows. Any advice? You can build muscle. I mean, first of all, do you have a barbell? Use a barbell if you have a barbell. Don't use dumbbells. But you can build muscle with higher reps too. You know, they've shown that 25 to 35 reps builds just as much muscle as 8 to 12 reps. So you can build muscle with higher reps. It's not as good for strength, though. Just keep that in mind. So my advice would be, if they don't have barbells and you only have access to those kinds of dumbbells, find a better gym or get a home gym set up with a better setup. Thoughts on CrossFit? I think that CrossFit is, I don't like it. I think that it's making people too prone to injury. I've known a number of guys, again, observational, anecdotal. It's not necessarily it's not exactly an argument against CrossFit, but I've known a number of guys who have done CrossFit and ended up injury with shoulder tears and all sorts of shit, because of the sheer speed, and that can make you sort of prone to using bad form. And there's a bit of ego involved in a lot of CrossFitters, I've noticed as well. That intensity and speed can lead to some people using bad form, which can set you up for injury. I'm just going to say that. So that's my thoughts on CrossFit. How did you and Vegan Gains become friends? Did you reach out to him or did he reach out to you? Well, what happened really is, it turns out Richard had been watching my channel. I didn't know he had been watching my channel. To be honest, in 2014, I didn't even know who Vegan Gains was for the longest time. I didn't really watch a lot of other YouTube channels. I was just kind of doing my own thing back then, making videos. And I still don't watch a lot of YouTube. But what happened is I saw Vegan Gains at one point recommending an 80-10-10 diet. And in a friendly manner, I did my my first big video, the first one that went kind of viral, I guess, semi-viral. I did a response to Vegan Gains back in like June or July of 2014. And overnight, it hit 2,000 views. It has since gone well above 100,000 views. It's somewhere in the close to 200,000 range, or a little over that now. And from there, Richard and I sort of developed he started liking my videos a lot more. We hooked up on Facebook and talked a lot. I haven't met him in person, but we do talk a lot. We talk about politics sometimes too, because we do share some of the same, not all of the same, but some of the same political views. He's not necessarily right-wing. I think he might be more centrist, like Isaac is. But we do, like, we both aren't Islam apologists. Both of us see a problem with Islam, the Islamification of the West. So yeah, I mean, we do have some similarities there as well, not just veganism and lifting. But yeah, we've been friends, you know, since then, really, for, I guess, at this point, about almost 4 years, 3.5 years, I guess. Anyway, hey man, I've been vegan for just over 2 years and I want to reintroduce animal products. I'm worried about how my body will react. Do you have any advice for me? Well, first of all, I wouldn't advise you to reintroduce animal products. I don't know why you're doing that. So I don't really know what to say to you. That's not exactly a healthy thing to do. But then again, I don't know why you're doing it. Maybe there is some legitimate health problem. Like, there are people, as much as vegans don't want to admit this, there are people who may not be able to be vegan. To give you an example of this, there are people who are allergic to beta carotene. And I mean, they're severely allergic to beta carotene. Therefore, they will not be able to convert to retinol in their body. These people require retinol to be healthy. And retinol is found only in its true form of retinol only in animal products. So some people just can't be vegan, but they are a minority. They are a small percentage. So maybe you're one of those. I don't know. I'm not going to ill-advise you. But if you're somebody who's just doing it because you miss the taste of cheese or something, dude, get over it. I'm just going to say, get over that, man. Let's see here. Kind of jumping through here. Cory, if you had the chance to move anywhere, where would it be? Oh, wow. There's a lot of places that I might move to. You know, even other countries I might move to. It's too long of a list, but let's put it this way. If I'm going to move somewhere, and frankly, that's not something I'll put online anyway. If I move, I'm not going to like announce that kind of thing, just for you know, a number of reasons. But it would be somewhere cold, and somewhere where I can fucking see the stars at night, and somewhere where I can see the seasons. I don't get them here in New York, in the city at least. I have to go to New York State or up to Connecticut to see to begin to see the fall foliage. And I certainly don't see the stars at night. There's too much fucking light pollution, and in fact, I haven't seen the stars at night for a very long time. Not even in London did I see stars, you know. So I would go somewhere where it's colder more of the year, and in the summer it's not so hot, certainly not so humid, and someplace with the seasons. Yeah. I'm going to wrap up in a minute here. I'm coming up to the hour mark. So I'm going to take a couple more questions, and I'm going to make it a go. I got to take care of some business today. I just got a verbal warning from someone who wants me to wrap up. What experience do you have with agriculture, and how much of your time do you think it would take, and what foods would you grow? It's going to be time consuming. If you're going to grow all your own products, you have to plan. Think about this. You have to plan, because you have to plan for the seasons and what nature's going to do, and the animals, the pests that are going to come about, like the bugs, and what animals are going to come in and try to eat your crops. And you have to plan all this. It's not something you can just dive right into without any working knowledge. You have to have at least a basic understanding of how to grow foods, how to protect your crops, and all of that, you know, and you have to have the land. So you have to invest in land, and you know, and make sure you're investing in the right kind of land. There's some places just not fertile. You know, that's so it would take some time, and I certainly don't have a lot of knowledge on that. But it was something that if I decide to take on, I'm going to study it. I mean, because it's the only way I'll be able to do it right, and talk to people who have done it and get some advice. That's it. Let's see here. A couple more questions. Can you replace all of the nutrition from fruits and vegetables? Because I heard the only difference is the sugar content. Not really. I mean, some fruits are higher in certain vitamins more so than certain vegetables. Like, you will find more vitamin C in the fruit world, but you might find more vitamin A in the vegetable world, and certainly more minerals in the vegetable world. So it's good to have a balance of both. You know, not replace one with the other. I don't see any point in doing that. If the Golden One wanted to catch these hands, would you fight him? I have actually told Tara a number of times that, and I have had viewers that have wanted this, that I would be perfectly happy having a sparring match with the Golden One. I would be up for it. In fact, we've joked about this, that you know, I'm not gonna go look to beat his ass. That's not the point of this. It'll be a friendly sparring match, because both of us have a martial arts background. Both of us have fought full contact, so we know the rules. We know what it's like to fight. We know what it's like to take a hit, even a really hard hit. So both of us come from similar backgrounds. So, I mean, I'd be up for that if he wanted to do something like that. It's really a matter of logistics. I mean, when's he going to be in New York, or when am I going to be in Sweden, basically? If ever there is a time where either of us will be in a mutual location, sure. I would love to do a lifting video with the guy. I mean, he's a friend of mine. So, but yeah, I mean, a friendly sparring match would be awesome, because I do have a lot of viewers that would like to see us go at it. And I don't mean that get your head out of the gutter, or maybe I should get my head out of the gutter. Anyway, one more question, and I'm gonna bolt. Cory, I work out 3 times a week, full body workouts, 3 different exercises for each muscle every day. My goal is to be ripped and a bit big. I already have a nice physique. How can I lift heavier? Lift heavier. I mean, that's the best way I can advise. I mean, if you're doing 3 exercises per body part, maybe cut it to 2. Make one of them like a 5x5, and make one of them like a 3x8 to 12, with perhaps a single drop set at the end, going up as high as like 20 to 30 to get that, to satisfy metabolic stress. That way you're hitting mechanical tension, you're hitting metabolic stress, which are 2 key factors of muscle growth. The third one is muscle damage, and the way that's best achieved is tension under a stretch. So for that 8 to 12 exercise, use a stretching exercise. Like, for instance, incline curls for biceps, sissy squats for the thighs, flies for chest are a good example. These are all examples of stretch exercises. Triceps would be extensions. maybe keep your 8 to 12 work, use a stretch type exercise, and then give a little pump set at the end, just a quick pump drop set at the end. That would be a way to do that without really overdoing the volume of a given workout, because you are training a limited number of times a week. That's my advice. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up at this point in time. It's been a little over an hour. If you guys are interested in any of my products or supporting my channel or what have you, or even getting vegan protein powder for a good discount, you can check out the description below. I will hit you guys up with the next Q&A. It's going to occur on Sunday, November 12th at around noon, barring any kind of problems, obviously. You know, you can never foresee those sort of things. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next Q&A and also in the next video. Take care.